Dhani watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Deja vu.
All over again.
I'm Dhani.
And I'm John.
And this is Watching My Stories.
Indeed.
I don't even know what.
A lot of takes so
We've
far.
been having some technical difficulties. My mic keeps cutting out, so hang on for that. And then I couldn't adjust our level. Did it go?
You're still on.
No, nobody move.
Yep. Don't switch position.
Anyway, so we've been having technical difficulties this morning, and we're getting going, and hopefully I can shake off this frustration so nobody hears it.
Thanks for coming along with us on that.
Because like every week, you never hear frustration in me.
Nope. Usually not quite so early.
Not me. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
For a few minutes.
Oh, nut.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a few things to talk about this week, and then we're going to move on to our Actors Corner, and for some reason, and I don't even remember why, we chose Ryan Reynolds. I usually like to try and find a reason, but I'm mainly talking about Aladdin this week, and we've already done Will Smith, so...
Isn't Pikachu opening?
Well, no, it opened a few weeks ago.
Oh, sorry.
And we haven't seen it, so
Sorry.
it's just a weird, Anyway, doesn't matter. That's what we're going to do in our Actors Corner. One movie, Aladdin, and then a couple little TV things, and then that's it for this week.
So pretty casual week.
Yes. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about Aladdin.
Didn't see it.
Saw it yesterday or sometime. Yeah, he didn't see it. He also hasn't seen the original Disney animated movie.
Guilty again.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, I know. It's on my list to see. My list is pretty long.
I would love for you to watch.
Yeah, there's like 100 movies. So
that's true.
It's not at the top, let's be honest.
Aww.
I know.
Okay, so Aladdin, the original animated movie for me was one of my favorites. Loved it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
How much of that was because of Robin Williams?
Probably 50%.
Yeah, okay.
But I also really love the movie. And it turns out, as I was watching this one, I just loved the movie.
Okay.
And I loved all the other songs in it. And it's just a good movie. And if people haven't seen it, the live action sticks to the same story with the same villains for the most part. And I'll get into that, the things that they change. But I just wanted to put out there that, the original is definitely one of my favorites. So I was really looking forward to this. And yeah, you got to get into the Robin Williams discussion because the genie is Robin and Robin is the genie. And what they did with the animation, it was, I can imagine the animators feverishly trying to keep up with what he had given them.
Yeah.
They probably had to get rid of hours and hours and hours of stuff that he just went off and did.
Probably.
And yet, because of the freedom of animation, they could just incorporate so many different voices and looks and different things. And it is a classic, perfect performance. And it works in that, it doesn't make you ever think like, what, that's too much or whatever, it just works.
Well, if ever there was an animated character, it was Robin Williams. I mean, he was animated without the cartoon.
Right. So my love for the original, I was very excited to see this, but also a little hesitant because that always happens to me whenever I'm watching, if it's a Broadway musical being turned into a movie or something, I usually have disappointments and they change things so much or whatever it is that I just kind of get disappointed.
Yes.
I did not have that with this. There was no disappointment.
Okay, good.
Which is really good.
Well, I suppose it didn't hurt that Will Smith is one of your favorite actors.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
But I'll get into kind of all the different reasons that I actually really love this. And the main reason is what they changed about it.
Oh, okay.
This movie really the title should have been changed to Princess Jasmine instead of Aladdin.
Okay.
And here's what was so great about it is, well, first off, and we kind of talked about this offline when we were talking about The Lion King and I watched The Lion King a few weeks ago and how it finally hit me that I'm listening to all these white voices when I'm watching all of these, African animals and that sort of thing, and how happy I am that they're redoing it now with kind of all of these black actors, because as I was watching it now, I was just like, how come I never picked up on this before? Why am I watching Matthew Broderick being a lion?
You're so conditioned to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is wrong, but it was the way it was.
And now you're woke.
Okay. And so anyway,
right.
So
Sorry.
anyway, so I'm really glad they did that, but it's the same thing with this. We are in Arabic country, it's Arabian Nights is the opening number, and yet the voices were the dude from Full House and Robin Williams, which I guess a genie can be anything. But now watching it and seeing actual brown people playing Arabs, like, hello, that was really nice. I actually kind of kept watching, and never that I noticed did I see a white person, which is great. Not even in the background, not even among all the dancers. And, there's a huge parade scene, even all of those people, which was just very nice. I'm glad someone paid attention to that. And I'm sure it's Disney. They seem to be kind of coming around to that sort of
good.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's that. And first off, the guy who plays Aladdin, Mina Masood, and the female who plays Princess Jasmine is Naomi Scott, are two of the most beautiful people I have ever seen. I mean, I honestly felt like I was watching a cartoon because they're so perfectly drawn. Like, it was kind of crazy. It was funny. It was a little like, how did you sculpt these people to be so perfect? And they can sing, and they're just, wonderful.
And good actors.
Like, they were, it was very, very perfect casting for them.
Good.
But anyway, back to why they should call it Princess Jasmine. Everyone I think knows I'm not a huge princess fan. I have a lot of issues with most of the Disney princess stories.
I think that's pretty well established by now.
And honestly, when I thought back to Aladdin, I didn't think a lot about Princess Jasmine as being like kind of one of those victim type princesses. When in the original animation, she is a princess of the Sultan of Agrabah, and she's supposed to get married so that, her father can retire and the new Sultan will be her husband. And that's just kind of the story. And all these people, she wants to marry for love. That's the point of the movie. She wants to marry for love. She meets Aladdin. He pretends that he gets the genie to make him a prince, and blah, blah, blah. But in this movie, it opens with within the first half hour, it's her not talking about she wants to marry for love, talking about that she wants to be the next sultan. And yeah, and she sings the only original song that was created for this movie called Speechless, and she sings that she won't be silent, she won't go speechless, and she sings this entire song about that, which is just wonderful. And she's saying, I know the people of Agrabah more than anyone else who comes into this land and marries me, and I will do the best for them. So it was like right off the bat, I was kind of like, I'm in. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Totally cool.
Girl power.
Right. But her mother was killed basically by terrorists. So her father, the Sultan, has locked her up in the castle most of her life. And he's just trying to marry her off. So that still exists. That's still what's happening. Sorry. So then Aladdin comes, she goes into she disguises herself and goes into the marketplace. That's all the same from the animated movie. And that's where she meets Aladdin.
Okay.
And they hit it off. But again, she's just kind of like, I really like him, but I'm supposed to marry a prince and all that sort of. And Jafar is the villain in this one. And what was in both movies, obviously. What's interesting is that in the animated movie, Jafar is this very, very large, very dark, very typical Disney villain. All the sharp edges, all the nice people have round edges, and all the villains in Disney are all sharp angles and that sort of thing.
Oh my God, I'd never noticed that.
Yeah, and Jafar is very much that. Lots of sharp angles and lots of, and he's got his parrot, which was Gilbert Gottfried voiced the parrot in the movie. And
Perfect.
yeah, but in this, it was just a parrot voice. I don't know if someone was actually doing it or not. Anyway, when I first saw Jafar, it was a very kind of normal looking man and a kind of a higher pitched voice. And I was like, well, he's not this overpowering Jafar that I'm used to. But by the end, it turned out, he was pretty perfect. It was definitely that kind of villain where, you underestimate, like that sort of person. And he was definitely very evil, and it was interesting. So anyway, he needs to find the diamond in the rough in order to enter the Cave of Wonders to get the lamp. Mm-hmm. That's what his whole point is, because he wants to be Sultan. He wants to be more powerful than anyone. He finds Aladdin. He keeps throwing guys into the Cave of Wonders. None of them are the diamond in the rough. He finally finds Aladdin. He thinks it's Aladdin, puts him into the cave, and that's how Aladdin. And then we're introduced to the genie. And I think it took over 30 minutes to get to the genie, which I looked at my watch because I wanted to know, but it didn't feel too long to get there.
Okay.
So I'm talking about way too much. Sorry, everyone. Want to get to the genie. So Will Smith comes out. He's the blue genie. And anytime he's the blue genie, he's CGI'd. It's never him in blue makeup.
Okay.
So they were able to still do all the cool stuff because it was all CGI.
Okay.
So he goes off and he does his little voices and he does little things, and they're multiplying him around and they're turning him into different shapes, and they're doing all the same sort of stuff that they did with Robin. But it's not a copy, and it's not the same. It's all different dialogue. They changed all of the genie stuff, even though a lot of the other dialogue is all the same. And then he goes into Friend Like Me, which is the big number, and it's definitely different. It has a groove, it has a beat. It's not
Will Smith.
exactly. It's not so Disney-fied as the original. It's definitely, he put his spin on it.
Will Smithified.
It is, and it's fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, you can't help but you're just moving along with it, and you're just like, yeah, this is Will Smith. And again, because of my love for him, I'm just like, I was just enamored and completely thrilled. And then it goes on into the rest of the movie. And I don't want to, everyone knows the story if you've seen it, whatever. But Will Smith, I think, is also 50% of this movie, just like Robin was of the animated. Mm-hmm. He makes it. And it's when he's when he's blue and they do all the cool stuff. And it's when he's disguising himself as a person so that he can be the helper to Prince Ali, which is who he turns Aladdin into. Okay. He's so funny. They've given him so many funny lines and his delivery. And he's this genie, but yet he's so funny and real, and Aladdin's so nervous so much of the time and saying the wrong things, and he's making fun of him for saying the wrong things. Like at one point he says, in 10,000 years, I've never been more embarrassed than I was in that moment, and it's like, it's Will Smith.
Classic
it's kind
Will
of,
Smith.
it's just, like all of a sudden, we're put it back into him at his just comic best for me.
Okay.
And again, I don't know how it is if you don't like him. If you don't like him, I care what you think.
Well, I'll let you know when it comes out.
Don't.
Sorry.
So there's that. So, okay. So we've established all those people are great. Aladdin, Princess Jasmine. And I'll tell you what, I cried a bunch, and all because of Jasmine and this new story that they gave her. So she's trapped in the house, in the castle. So before in the animated, when they do A Whole New World and Aladdin takes her on the magic carpet ride, and that's when they sing A Whole New World, because he's saying, I can show you the world.
Yeah, I've seen that part.
In the animated, it was kind of like, okay, cool. He's getting her out of the castle. Like, great. Like that sort of thing.
Got her out of the house for an hour.
And this one, it's more like she's literally, like, we're feeling her being trapped and how much she wants to help. Like she's looking at maps and she's like, maps is all I have to the world. And so then he takes her on this carpet ride. And at first, my first instinct was, I can't believe like he has to show her the world. Like it kind of got to me like she should be able to see the world on her own, But then he's steering the magic carpet and he handed the reins over to her, and I started crying. Because all of a sudden it was like, yeah, she can go see the world on her own, and she can do this, and they can fall in love, and everything's still good. And I started crying, and I was sitting there going, I can't believe Princess Jasmine right now is becoming this like feminist icon that we need in this moment. Like I was just like, there's so much going on right now, and here she is. I'm watching a Disney movie with a Disney princess who's just like wanting to change her existence, And of course, by the end, she does. She convinced she sings Speechless again in a very powerful moment. I was crying through the whole thing. And she convinces her father that, you know, she can do this. And it's very powerful as far as jazz. And honestly, I felt like we got to know Jasmine way more than we knew Aladdin. But when I thought about it, there isn't a lot to Aladdin. He's the diamond in the rough. He's the street rat who pretends to be a prince and falls in love, and then he marries her. Like, there's not a lot to him. And whoever reimagined this, I think, said there has to be a lot more to Jasmine. And there was, and it's fantastic, and I love it.
And it's very timely to do this.
Right.
Right? So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And there's another teary moment when, you know, Aladdin does free the genie, and in the cartoon it's a beautiful moment as well, but it's not as beautiful as this one was. I definitely cried.
Well,
for that.
live actors will always make you feel more than cartoon characters.
I guess it was a very beautiful moment when Robin Williams died. Everyone used that
he dies?
moment. No, when Robin Williams died in real life. Everyone used that screenshot of him kind of being freed type thing from the shackles. Okay. So that's why, you know, I don't like to really say I didn't cry a lot in the cartoon. But anyway, so there's that. The costumes were amazing in this. So colorful, so beautiful. And I'm talking everyone's. Jasmine's, of course, were phenomenal, but everyone looked good. Everything about it. So Guy Ritchie directed,
I had no idea.
Yeah, which is also a very interesting choice. But it's very colorful and intense in the brightness of it all. Also, he puts his little spins on it. So, you know, the thing I love about Guy Ritchie movies is always the action scenes. He always slows them down at just the right spots, or he speeds them up or whatever. He did the same thing with the musical numbers here. Sometimes I liked it and sometimes I didn't. There were a couple moments in musical numbers where he kind of sped it up, so they looked like old-timey movies. So they were dancing really fast, especially with Bollywood dancing. It felt a little odd to me. I would have liked to have just stuck with the regular dancing. But that's his style, and so I knew what I was getting into. But then there's a lot of action in the movie, a lot of action, and he's so good at that. So it really worked for him.
Well, sometimes you just have to take the bad with the good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's not nothing that I'm gonna.
And as long as it didn't ruin anything,
exactly,
or, detract too much, it's okay. You took notes?
Well, I wrote down notes
for this.
Okay.
Yeah. You weren't at the theater like, oh, I gotta remember that.
Okay.
That's embarrassing.
Soundtrack's fantastic. Definitely recommend downloading the soundtrack. Like I said, everyone gives a great performance. It was great casting all the way around. The CGI got to me a little on the genie. There were definite times where you could tell it was CGI. Okay. So it took me out a little bit, but then I had to keep going, but he's a genie. Like, it's not supposed to be a person. You know what I mean? So I just kind of kept my head in the game that's what was going on. They did a great job with sticking to the original story, but amping it up with the Princess Jasmine stuff. I'm forever a huge Jasmine fan now. This is it. Like, I'm all in, which I never used to really consider her anything, really. And of course she has her pet tiger, Raja. And they gave her a handmaiden, Nasim Pedred, she's so funny, and her and the genie have a thing, and so it's great.
We like her.
Yeah, love her.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, I'm giving it 4.5 stars. The only reason I'm not giving it that little extra is just those little things that I talked about.
Okay.
But I loved it. I can't wait to see it again. And I really love these. So Naomi Scott, she's going to be in the new Charlie's Angels movie that comes out in November. She's one of the new angels. But Mina Massoud, whatever he does next, I'm watching. Totally in on him. Really excited about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. It was so Disney, but then it also felt not Disney, I think, because of the Will Smith of it all and the Guy Ritchie of it all. I think they kind of put their own little stamp on it that didn't make it so sweet. You know what I mean? Like, just that overly sweet Disney stuff.
Yeah,
so
they kept it real.
Yeah, it felt it. It really did. And I was all in. I'm so excited. It'll be interesting to hear what people who either haven't seen the original or don't know anything about it think, because I've seen a lot of people who are like huge Disney fans and they all love it, but for people who aren't, it'll be I would love to hear, you know, what they think of it.
Well, like I said, give me a couple months.
Yeah,
because I'm not a big Will Smith fan and I've never seen the original, so I can let you know from the truly casual observer's viewpoint how good the movie is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's it for movies. I'm going to move on to TV really quick.
Okay.
First is a new Netflix comedy special, Wanda Sykes, called Not Normal.
I didn't even know that she had one out. When did you sneak that in?
I think it came out Tuesday or Wednesday. So it's just an hour-long comedy special. Super funny. It's called Not Normal because first off, she starts talking about politics and how this isn't normal and that's not normal and, you know, all of that. So it's really funny. But then she just goes on. I mean, you know, it's Wanda Sykes.
Yep.
So she talks about her life, her marriage, her kids. It's Wanda Sykes. There's nothing else I have to say about it. You like her, you don't. If you like her, it's super funny. I will definitely watch it again with you.
Okay.
And I just wanted to point out that it's out there and for people to go see it. She's just fantastic.
She is.
Oh my God. Love her so much.
I didn't know she was married.
Yeah. Her wife is French and they have twins.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. See, I had no idea. Yeah, I didn't.
Wow. Okay.
She's
So
good at keeping
that's
her
always
private
part of-
life private.
No, that's always part of her stand-up is that her wife is French. So she makes fun of her all the time. Always pretends she's smoking. And she's like, my wife doesn't smoke. But when she does the French accent, she always pretends that she's... So that's always part of her life. And her kids are white. So she lives in this white household, you know, and it's always part of her stand-up.
Wow. See, I had no idea.
Huh.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, good for her.
Yeah. The next show I want to talk about is called The Fix. It was on, I think it was on ABC. Don't quote me on that. This was the show that Marcia Clark produced and created, like co-created or something like that.
Okay.
And there was a lot of hype around it when it started because she was involved. And the point of the show was that there was this actor, the super actor that they assumed had killed his wife before, but he got off, and now he had killed his girlfriend, and that was going to be the part of the show.
And this was fiction?
This was supposed to be fiction, even though Marcia Clark was like, well, I took pieces of my
Sure.
life and
Understood.
put it in there.
Understood.
So I was really excited to watch it. The guy in it was Mr. Echo. I can't pronounce his real name, but he played Mr. Echo on Lost. Mm-hmm. And one of the most meta scenes, because he's an actor on the show, The Fix, was him watching a scene from Lost as Mr. Echo. You know, he was like sitting in a screening room, like watching his latest work. And they played the scene from Lost. Like, I was just like, Mr. Echo's watching Mr. Echo. It's too weird. Like, so anyway, he plays this guy Sevi, who's this, you know, huge actor. I guess it was only like 5 years before or whatever he had gone to trial. Robin Tunney plays this prosecutor who had prosecuted him the first time. Mm-hmm. She was dead set that he had killed his wife at the time. But he was found not guilty, and now his girlfriend came up dead, and she had retired at that point, but she came back to LA in order to prosecute him again for this. And they start going through every episode, finding new evidence and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was like all in the beginning, like this is totally cool, all that. And then halfway through, it started to take some weird turns. The prosecutor had stalker and things went weird there. And then it was like all of a sudden we were all about the stalker instead of this other story. And there were only 10 episodes. And so then all of a sudden we were on the 10th episode and they had to tell us who actually killed the girlfriend. And it was one of those things where it was like they hadn't thought the whole season through. And so all of a sudden they had to go, well, we'll just make he killed her and this and that. And we put a bow on it and you're done. And I was just like, I can't believe I just sat through 10 episodes of something that it was not even like this revealing moment of, oh my God, he did. It was just kind of like, really? That's what you came up with?
I hate that when they go off on a weird tangent that doesn't do anything for anybody.
Right.
For like 4 episodes. And then halfway through the last episode, they're like, well, we better get back to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
stupid.
it was a huge letdown. I would say the first half was great, but I would not recommend anyone going back and watching. There's no point. And it didn't get picked up for a second season, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I loved everyone in it, but no, not thought through well enough.
Shame on them.
Yeah.
Okay.
bummer.
Yep.
And then the last thing I want to talk about was the special that was on this week called Live in Front of a Studio Audience.
Oh, yeah.
Where a bunch of celebrities recreated an episode of All in the Family and the Jeffersons, and they did it live on television. And it was fantastic. I loved it so much. Woody Harrelson was Archie Bunker, and Marissa Tomei was Edith, and Ike Barinholtz was Meathead, and Ellie Kemper was Julie, and the Jefferson, Jamie Foxx was George Jefferson, and Wanda Sykes was Wheezy, and everyone else, Anthony Anderson was in it, Sean Hayes. I mean, it was just like every time the door opened, it was, Marla Gibbs came back. She was on the Jeffersons episode.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was so wonderful to see her. It was like, but it was, first off, the shows were still funny in their own right. Like the shows were funny, even though there were still moments where I was just like, oh God, especially Archie Bunker. It was just like, oh my God. And the N-word was said 2 or 3 times, and that's how it was. But that was on the Jeffersons. And so, but it was still, what I loved about it was obviously the messages that were being talked about are still messages that could be talked about today, which is also really sad that 40 years later, nothing seems to have really changed that much. But I just loved watching everyone. It was a lot of fun to watch all these people be live and do something like this. I would be up for this every single week if they wanted to just pull people out to do an episode of Different Strokes, and then an episode of Facts of Life, and then an episode, like, I would totally be up for this.
You know what's the first thing that popped to my mind when you said that? Which show? WKRP in Cincinnati.
Totally. I mean,
how hysterical would that be if you got the right people?
Yeah, it would just, like, now Jamie Foxx went method. Like, he was totally imitating, what was his name? Sherman. Yeah. He did the walk, and then like the whole time he just kept his head bobbing back and forth. And at one point Woody Harrelson was like, do you have ants in your pants or something? But he just kept trying to do the whole Sherman Hemsley thing. But everyone was great. The episode of they picked both episodes that were really kind of poignant and really great. And the episode of Jeffersons was when George wanted Wheezy to get a maid, and she didn't want to get a maid. She knew they'd have a black maid, and so she wasn't comfortable with it. But that it was great that Jack A. Henry was on there, and it was just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I think there's a lot to still talk about. I think that I would hope that families sat down and still talked about things, and or maybe saw something that still needs to be changed in their own world or something like that.
Well, look, it's in a lot of respects. So I watched the first 20 minutes with you.
Yeah.
And then stopped. And in a lot of respects, it was much more in your face now, right? So I almost think,
because we don't see people talking that way anymore.
I almost think so. It's much more closeted, right? It's not in your face.
Well,
where 40 years ago when this episode aired,
right?
It was much
mainstream.
more. It was much more commonplace.
Yeah.
For Archie Bunker to be Archie Bunker,
right?
But now it like really jumps out at you,
right? And the funny thing is that Archie was alone in his home. He was the only one who still felt that way. And was hanging on to all of it, even in his neighborhood.
Yes.
But to still watch 40 years later, there's still those families where there's that one person who's still hanging on, and it's like, so it's really interesting.
But even more disappointing, there are those families where it's the one person and then they have a child and it gets passed on to that child.
Right.
So that child then becomes another person, or that one person now a new home, instead of dying out. Right. With the old guard, the old, people. It's still as prevalent, if not worse, today. It's just seeing it like this in this episode. It was really in your face and like hit you upside the head.
Yeah.
With, this is 40 years ago, but it's still a problem, and it's probably even worse.
Right. But it was really funny.
Well, it was. And I got to say, the 20 minutes that I saw, Marissa Tomei was amazing.
Oh, she was great.
She was fantastic.
She was so funny. And everyone did a really great job. The only person that really messed up at one point was Jamie Foxx, but he made a big deal about it. And honestly, I'm not even sure that he didn't do that on purpose, because I even said to you in the first 20 minutes, I said, no one screwed up. This doesn't even feel like it's live.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if he didn't come out and screw up so that people realized it was live. You know what I mean?
Could have been.
But it was funny. And Woody he was laughing so hard during that moment. But it was great. I just I really loved it. I know it was a special thing that they were doing, but honestly, if I could put my vote out there, this would be great for the summer. People aren't working. Bring them in. Do this once a week. Bring back this sort of thing.
Pick a different show. Yeah,
love it. Would love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's on Hulu now. So for people who didn't get to watch it, it is on Hulu. You can go back and watch it. It's called Live in Front of a Studio Audience. And it was a tribute to Norman Lear, obviously, and all of his work and stuff. He has enough shows for us to just do on his own.
Who's 95, and he was still pretty with it when they interviewed him at the beginning.
Yeah, he's still, I mean, his show just got canceled. He had a show on One Day at a Time. Was on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that just got canceled. He's been working this whole time. So,
that's crazy.
He's fantastic.
Well, during my weekly call with the studio execs, I'll tell them how you feel, that they should do that.
Thank you.
At least, like once a week, pick a show. And,
appreciate it.
I'll make it happen.
Yes. All right. So that's all I have for this week. So we are going to move on to our Actors Corner with Ryan Reynolds.
All right.
So, of course, I always have to give my history with the person.
Sure. Go for it.
And, I've been watching Ryan Reynolds since his first show, which was 15. It was on Nickelodeon when I was a kid, and he was on there. and it's funny because he was just on some talk show, and someone said, "Did you know 15 is now streaming?"
Oh, that's right.
And it's on Hulu, and I haven't gone back to watch it, and I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Wasn't that with Ellen?
I don't know.
I think so.
So anyway, so then again, I didn't see him after that until Two Guys, a Girl and Pizza Place. But yeah, I loved 50. Can't wait to go back and watch it. I'm sure it was a horrible show, but I'm gonna enjoy rewatching it.
Sure.
Just because I loved it then. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see movies you love.
All right. So I got it down to 2.
Okay.
You usually get down to 3, but I got it down to 2.
Okay.
Deadpool.
The first one.
They're so 1A, 1B. They're I like both of them.
Okay.
I like a lot of aspects of Deadpool 2 better. But I went with Deadpool 1.
Okay.
But it could be either or.
Okay.
Deadpool in general.
Okay.
And the other one is The Proposal with Sandra Bullock.
That's a classic.
It's just such a good sweet movie.
I think I've talked when we talked about I have The Proposal under movies I like. We've talked about, I think when we were talking about Sandra Bullock, there's the scene Ryan Reynolds should have gotten the Oscar for the one scene in The Proposal when she's in her boss's office and she decides to tell them that they're engaged, and Ryan Reynolds comes in. The next time you watch that movie and you see that scene where he comes in and she's telling them, "No, we're engaged and we're getting married," and the performance he gives in that moment, it's actually like 3 or 4 minutes, it's just perfection. And it's classic, and he's the best at that. He can do that so well. Okay, so movies I love, Just Friends. I mean, it's a classic. There are so many lines from that movie, him and Amy Smart. It's perfection. I love it. Mine is Deadpool 2. I like 2 way, way, way more than the first one. So I love Deadpool 2. And then my third is Woman in Gold. It's with Ryan Reynolds and Helen Mirren, and he is helping her try and get a painting back. It's a Klimt painting back from Austria that was stolen from her during 2. And I don't know why I can watch this movie when it was on the movie channels. I would watch it every day.
Sure.
It's a beautiful story, and they're both wonderful in it, and it's a true story. And if you haven't watched Woman in Gold, go find it. It's really good.
Yes.
Okay, movies you like.
The Change Up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
on my list too. It's
kind of surprising because I wasn't real big on him, and I'm not really big on what's his face? Jason Bateman. But the two of them combined really made me like it.
Well, the two of them did a really good job of switching and being the other person.
Yes, they did. I think that, not hear you say that. That's exactly what it is.
Because they both are really different, but they did a really good job, and they had been friends for, like 10 or 15 years at that point, so they knew each other well enough to do that. But what I loved about that movie was that it was, we've seen the Freaky Fridays and all those where they switch with younger kids or whatever. Mm-hmm. This was fun to watch switching with your equal, and to have these two guys. It was a R-rated movie, so that also helped. Mm-hmm. But they did take on each other's personalities really well.
Yes,
and I cry every single time. I love it. Yeah. Leslie Mann, funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally.
Good one.
And the other one I like is Van Wilder.
Yes.
That was the first thing I saw him in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have that under Secretly Love. That I remember watching that still with my sister, and we loved him from Two Guys a Girl, and it was the first one where it was like it was fully him. You could easily put a Deadpool costume on him on Van Wilder, and it's him. You know what I mean? And so we used to always go around quoting that movie forever. Like, write that down. And, it's a classic, and it's R-rated, very much so, but it's so much fun.
It is, and watching
Tara Reid. I mean,
thinking back, yeah, I know, who's become a caricature of herself.
Yeah.
Thinking back to that, you just kind of seeing that and seeing him in that and how perfect he was. You just kind of knew he was destined for where he is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are a lot of those movies, those kinds of movies that are made and the people just kind of disappear.
Oh no, yeah, it's a National Lampoon movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so under my I had Change Up, The Proposal, and Definitely Maybe a third.
Yeah.
Again, another romantic comedy. Just love it. Same guy who did Love Actually, and it's just a great story.
Sure.
And the way and again, I cry every single time.
I think at this point that kind of goes without saying.
That's not true. I don't cry in all.
You don't. Name one you don't cry on. No, stop looking. Just any movie, not just a Ryan.
I know,
Reynolds
but
movie.
I have to look at to think. Did I cry in Deadpool 2?
You
Probably
did.
not.
I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah, the ending does
Yes,
get me. Yeah.
exactly.
Whatever.
So anyway,
okay. Movies you hate.
you laughed, you cried. So there's one it's a fine line between hate and just dislike.
Okay.
It's just I didn't like that.
I think you need to see it again.
No, I've seen it like twice.
No.
Yeah, I saw it a second time. It's just annoying.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just my opinion. But I also have another one.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it, but I have zero interest in Pikachu.
Oh, really?
I will not be seeing that movie, and I'm sure he's good in it as the character and the voice and stuff, but I will not be seeing that movie.
I will watch it at home. I have no interest in going to see it, but my issue with him is that I'm so programmed now when I hear his voice that it's dead, that to now watch him do another character where he's a voice, it's hard for me to just not associate that voice with Deadpool. I mean, it's one thing if I'm looking at his face, it's another thing when all I'm hearing is his voice, because that's kind of how it is in Deadpool.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I will watch it, but yeah. Okay, so movies I hate, again, it's not necessarily hate, to me it wasn't great. Fireflies in the Garden, it was him and Julia Roberts, and he was her son, and it was this whole kind of, he was going on a journey to go home to his mom. She died, and going home to his mom's funeral, and this life that he had and bad relationship with his dad and all this sort of stuff. I was really expecting a really good kind of heartwarming story, and it went weird, and I just didn't get a lot out of it, so it disappointed me. I could have put Green Lantern in here. I turned it off halfway. I know everyone gives it crap, so I didn't want to really add it in here, but I am going to mention it just because I didn't finish it. It wasn't good enough. So yeah, I mean, now in Deadpool, it didn't happen.
Yeah. So was that a DC? What is Green Lantern?
Yeah.
It's a DC comic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's good that it didn't work out, because then it allowed him to move on to Marvel, be Deadpool.
Yeah. I think he was already doing the other stupid Deadpool in X before.
I believe
Green
you're right.
Lantern.
I think Green Lantern was after
That
Wolverine.
horrible to him. But anyway, we'll get to okay, Secretly Love.
Woman in Gold.
Yeah.
And it's not so much a secret.
Yeah.
Because I will tell anybody that I love the movie. It's just I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect.
I remember I made you watch it. And,
yeah. And it's Helen Mirren, who's,
right.
One of my girls. But even so, I was like, okay. But I liked it so much more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
And it kind
great
of
storytelling.
It kind of snuck up on me. So that's the secret part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, so mine, I have Van Wilder. There's this other little movie that he did called Buried, and it's just him in a coffin buried underground. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's him. It's mostly voiceover because he's kind of thinking to himself the whole time, or he's on a phone trying to reach people. And that's it. He's telling the story of how he kind of got there, and is he going to get rescued in time? It's just an intense kind of, hour and a half, and it's all him, and I really enjoyed it. He does a lot of little movies like that I end up really liking.
Okay.
So there's Van Wilder Buried, and then I had to put Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place on here. It used to be just a couple years ago they were still playing reruns, and I would still watch it. And he is the funniest. It was him, Nathan Fillion, Trailer, whatever her name was. It was just a good cast, and that's where he popped. I mean, again, by the time Van Wilder came out, my sister and I were like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch it because of him. And he was it was one of those characters that you loved, and the show was great, and it was a lot of fun. So
Cool.
I had to put that.
Okay.
Embarrassed you haven't seen?
So I put X-Men Wolverine.
Yeah, you don't want to see it for him, but I do want you to see the X-Men movies.
Right. So now just hearing you talk about Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Yeah.
I think that might be the one.
Maybe we should try that. I wonder if I can find it streaming anywhere.
Okay.
I'll have to look because I don't know. I don't know if it holds up, but for me it does.
I think I could put that on either of these two. Embarrassed I haven't seen one I'm adding.
What are you adding with that?
Well, right now I'm adding, I was going to say definitely.
You have seen that. Yes. We sat and watched it.
Oh dear.
Remember with him and...
Stop.
Okay.
No, I don't remember. That's part
you
of...
will if I explain.
Okay.
That's okay. So I don't have anything under my embarrassed I haven't seen, but I do want to add to my watch list The Hitman's Bodyguard. I think I had started it and probably only got 10 minutes, and I think I stopped for whatever reason. But they're doing a second one. So now I feel like I want to go back and watch the first one. They are doing a second.
I was surprised checking IMDb how much he's either just finished or is in production or is in scheduled.
Right.
He's got like 10 things that are either getting ready to come out or is in process or is scheduled for. Yeah, so he's going to have a big couple years.
Yes. So honorable mention, Amityville Horror. I love the originals, the original one so much that when this came out again, I saw it for him only. And maybe it's a good thing, but he did so well. I hated seeing him be so mean and creepy and killing people. It really, I can't watch it again because I can't watch him be that way. So I guess that's a good thing. He
Not
did a
my
good job.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it was really hard to watch.
That's like what, if Tom Hanks is ever a bad guy.
Right.
Yeah, that's too big a stretch for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I did want to talk about Wolverine, but we did. Again, if you've seen the Wolverine origin story thing with Wade Wilson, he really screwed people up there. Safe House, him and Denzel, that was a good movie. There was good action in that. I really liked it. The Croods, the animated movie, again, really good. Cried at the end of that one. And they're doing a second one, so I'm excited for that.
I'm shocked.
The Captive, this was another little small one where his daughter was taken, and he spent, I don't even remember if it was a few, and we see where his daughter is, she was taken, kind of child trafficking and stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes and searches for it. It was a small movie, but it was really good. It was really interesting.
I may have to check that out. I never even heard of that.
And then Life, the one with Jake Gyllenhaal in space and stuff. Ryan Reynolds, spoiler alert, he dies within the first 10 minutes, but still, I really enjoyed the movie.
But it's a great 10 minutes.
I really enjoy the movie, and it's a good death. Yeah, it really is. So, for me, I just like the movie, but wanted to mention.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, so that's our Ryan Reynolds. And again, so many of these people we're going to have to revisit. Yeah, they are going to do so much. And on his list is Clue, so I guess he's actually producing the remake of Clue, which I as of right now, I'm not happy about. Don't mess with that perfection.
So when I went to him on IMDb, I went to him as actor, and it was on there for actor.
Yeah, he's also in it.
Oh, okay. If
If you go and look, he's executive producer. So
gotcha.
It better be as different as Jumanji and the new Jumanji was. You know what I mean? Where it was so different, you don't compare. I don't know. I just Clue is a masterpiece
with Martin Mull and
yes, and Madeline Kahn and Tim Curry.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That was just on not too long ago.
It's perfect. It's on all the time.
We watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, I watch it all the time.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Okay,
and they shouldn't be redoing it.
Right. So
doesn't mean I won't go see it.
Right.
But I'm not happy about it right now. So again, when you have your discussion with the studio executives, make sure they change it. So it's completely different.
I forgot all about that. I was having one. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Don't forget.
I better write that down.
The other thing I want to say is if anyone's still listening, on our Etsy store, On our Etsy store, you search the shop name 3 Pupmigos. We have a lot of new shirts out there, probably 10 or so new shirts, some from Avengers, a lot from Aladdin that I did this weekend. Just a lot of new things. And we're doing a lot more colors and textures and all of that. So please check it out. And if there's any custom shirts that you want made, reach out to us and we have no problem with that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's everything for this week.
I think I'm good.
I think so. So we will be back next week. I have tickets to see Rocket Man. So I'm very excited about that. And we will be back.
All right. Sounds good.
Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.